For years, the story of AI has felt like a two-horse race, right? The US versus China. But just when it looked like US sanctions had finally tripped China up, they hit back with a strategic pivot. And it's so profound, it could not only reshape the entire AI landscape, but it might just challenge the very foundation of America's whole tech economy. So then, boom. Early this year, we get what's being called the DeepSeek moment. And honestly, the world was stunned. The whole point of the US export controls on advanced chips was to sideline China, to create this massive hardware gap they couldn't cross. But this one model, which kind of came out of nowhere, proved China wasn't just hanging on, they were actually innovating their way around the blockade. So you gotta ask, what was the US thinking? Well, they played what they thought was their ace in the hole, restricting China's access to the most powerful graphics processing units, or GPUs, from companies like NVIDIA. These things are the specialized chips that are basically the engines for all of modern AI. The goal was simple: stop China's progress in its tracks. But what it actually did was create this massive crisis that forced China into a complete strategic rethink. And this right here perfectly sums up their response. When you can't rely on brute force, in this case, an endless supply of the best chips, you have to change the rules of the game. China was literally forced to get leaner, to get more creative, and to focus on a totally different metric: efficiency. And that leads us right into the first part of their counterattack: a laser-like focus on doing more with less. Instead of just building bigger and bigger models that eat up city-sized amounts of power, Chinese companies kicked off this frantic race to make their AI radically more efficient. So what's this number, 82%? Well, it's a huge deal. Tech giant Alibaba announced it had cut the number of GPUs it needed to run its AI models by a staggering 82%. Now just think about that for a second. They figured out how to make roughly 200 chips do the work that used to take 1,200. That isn't just a small improvement, it's a revolutionary leap. And that leap really highlights two completely different philosophies at play here. The US approach, led by giants like OpenAI and Google, it's like a muscle car. It's all about raw power, no matter how much fuel it guzzles. China, on the other hand, driven by pure necessity, is building a hyper-efficient electric vehicle. It's all about getting the most mileage out of every single drop of energy. But look, this whole efficiency first thing, it's not some brand new radical idea. It's actually a classic playbook for winning. Ford didn't win by building the most luxurious car. He won by figuring out how to make one that everyone could afford. Walmart, SpaceX, they followed the exact same playbook: innovate on cost and efficiency to completely own the market. Okay, so this obsession with efficiency lays the groundwork for the second pillar of their plan, and people are calling it the Old Navy strategy. It's brilliant, really. It's not about beating the absolute best product on the market. It's about flooding the market with something that's good enough and just unbelievably cheap. And this chart just lays it all out, crystal clear. Take a look at the cost to process 1,000,000 tokens, which is just a standard unit of data for an AI. OpenAI's top model is around $10. China's leading models, they're all hovering around $1. We're not talking a little bit cheaper. We're talking almost 10 times cheaper. That's a game changer. This is the core idea. It's like buying the store brand cereal, right? It might not have the fancy cartoon character on the box, but it tastes pretty much the same and costs a tiny fraction of the price. China is basically doing to AI what it's already done to so many other industries. They're turning it into a commodity. So you see, this isn't a battle for who has the highest score on some benchmark test. This is a battle for adoption. It's a land grab. China's play is to become the go-to AI provider for the rest of the world, especially for developing nations, by making their technologies super accessible and affordable, mostly through a really vibrant open-source community. And you have to understand, these strategies, the focus on efficiency, the push for low-cost mass adoption, they aren't just random business tactics happening in a vacuum. They are critical pieces of a deliberate, top-down national vision for the entire country's future. So what is this grand plan? It's called AI Plus. And that plus is the most important part. It means AI plus healthcare, AI plus manufacturing, AI plus education, AI plus everything. The ultimate goal is to build an entirely new intelligent economy from the ground up. And just look at the sheer ambition here. By 2027, the plan is to have AI deeply integrated across all 6 of these major areas. This isn't just about tech companies making cool apps. This is about using AI to solve huge national challenges. Think AI-powered diagnostics and public hospitals catching diseases months earlier, or AI-managed logistics making the entire manufacturing supply chain hyper-efficient. It's about human-computer teamwork on a national scale. This quote just hits the nail on the head. While so much of the conversation in the West is dominated by this sci-fi dream of artificial general intelligence, or AGI, China is completely focused on the here and now. How can we use the AI we have today to achieve concrete, real-world goals? All right, so let's zoom out. What does all of this mean for the rest of us on the world stage? Well, these two competing strategies are setting up a potential clash that could totally reshape the global tech order. And this slide just highlights the stark difference in how each country is talking to the world. The official US AI plan is full of language about US leadership and dominance. Meanwhile, at global conferences, China's tagline is all about global solidarity. One sounds like a boss trying to stay on top, and the other sounds like a partner trying to help everyone rise up. And here's the quiet, asymmetric threat to the US economy. A huge part of the American stock market's recent growth has been riding on the sky-high valuations of just a handful of tech giants like Nvidia and Microsoft. China doesn't need to put them out of business. All they have to do is commoditize AI, eat into that global market share, and prove that these companies won't own the entire future. If they do that, they could puncture those massive valuations and potentially trigger a really serious economic shockwave. All of this leaves us with this one massive, looming question. For decades, we've just assumed that the company with the most advanced technology wins, period. But China is making a completely different bet. They're betting that in a revolution as big as AI, the winner isn't the one with the fanciest model in the lab, but the one whose technology is woven into the daily lives of billions. So, who will win, the best model or the most adopted one? That's a question we can't afford to ignore.